So, hello and welcome to the next episode of Self-Development with Tactics podcast. And today we are going ahead with the subtle art of not giving a fuck by Mark Manson, I think. I think it's Mark Manson. I don't know by now, and I do not really want to scroll up because then I don't know where I've stopped. But I think we will go straight into it after I've told you who I am. So, I'm Christopher Walch, and I'm a 17-year-old graphic design student from Austria, and I'm pretty fucking pumped to go through this with you. And we will go straight into it. Who you are is defined by what you're willing to struggle for. Our struggles determine our success. Our problems birth our happiness, along with slightly better, slightly upgraded problems. The problem with the self-esteem movement is that it measured self-esteem by how positively people felt about themselves. But a true and accurate measurement of one's self-worth is how people feel about the negative aspects of themselves, which is pretty true. If you aren't pretty, how should I say, if you can't handle yourself, or if you do not love yourself in every aspect of yourself, you might not have that self-esteem. Of course, there are some things you do not maybe like about yourself. There are things I do not like about myself. If, for example, my angriness, I get angry just a pretty fuck a lot of time. And this, but I can live with it. I can live with my bad sides and I can live with my good sides. And if there is something I can't live with, then I have to change something, and then I will change something. And this is also something I, should tell you. Just if there's something you do not really like in your life, try to change it. Because why not? You have one life, and you should really make the best out of it as you can. And it depends on what you prefer or what your preferences are. If somebody prefers, I don't know, this is actually something I was talking about in the last episode as well. If you just prefer good grades or good marks in school, then just work and struggle for your marks. If you do not give a fuck about them, just do not let any other people's experiences, not experiences but opinions, just work on you or just hit you, because your reality is your reality and somebody else's reality is their reality. And just give a fuck about their opinion. But let's head on. People who feel entitled view every occurrence in their life as either an affirmation of or a threat to their own greatness. The true measurement of self-worth is not how a person feels about her positive experiences, but rather how she feels about her negative experiences. Often, even if it's just hard to accept at these certain moments, and it's pretty hard to emphasize with all these failures you have, all these mistakes you make, are just, they just fire you up to learn more. You just learn through them. But, actually understanding this and really emphasizing with it is pretty hard, even for me. I really hate to fail. I really hate to be bad at something. I really hate to lose, especially in sports. I hate it because I was always kind of used to win when I was, in these sport clubs and so on. I played soccer pretty long. We were always quite good, and now when I'm in school and when I'm playing soccer, just get really, really pissed when I lose. But I just forgot what I wanted to say with that. But we will go on. Maybe I'll know later. A person who actually has a high self-worth is able to look at the negative parts of his character frankly. Yes, sometimes I am irresponsible with money. Yes, sometimes I exaggerate my own success. Yes, I rely too much on others to support me and should be more self-reliant, and then act to improve upon them. Which is actually something you have to really, put in perspective. At my point of view, working on your flaws is quite a good thing, because it will help you just, get better at something you're actually now are good at, to get even better. Because you just, some flaws might actually, set you back or just are handicapping you and so on. But working on something you aren't pretty good at is, at my point of view, not that great. Because just work on something you're good at now and then get really, really good at this certain task or whatever, sport, I don't know. Just get really good at something you are actually right now good and you probably like, because you might then be doing this your whole life long. And working on something you're not good at will just take up a lot of time, and nobody actually cares how good you are at soccer, even though if you are in a marketing agency doing Facebook ads. Nobody would ever care, but they would care if you're the best one at your Facebook ads. Yes. And then, saying something like, and then acts to improve upon them, it's also great in terms of flaws, at my point of view. Not only, but maybe there are other aspects of life which are just, improvable as well, or should be improved. A lot of people are afraid to accept mediocrity because they believe that if they accept it, they will never achieve anything, never improve, and that their life won't matter. The rare people who do become truly exceptional at something do so not because they believe they are exceptional. On the contrary, they become amazing because they are obsessed with improvement. And that obsession with improvement stems from an unerring, it's UNERRING, belief that they are in fact not that great at all. I'll have to read this again because I didn't really get it. The rare people who do become truly exceptional at something do so not because they believe they are exceptional. On the contrary, they become amazing because they are obsessed with improvement. And that obsession with improvement stems from an unerring or unurging? Is it unurging belief that they are in fact not that great at all? I don't get it either this time, but just go ahead. And this is even something I shouldn't really be doing. I should read this as long as I get it, or until I get it. But for you, and you might have already gotten it, and it just pisses you off that I'm reading this over and over and over again, even though you actually just know it by the first time. For this reason, I will go on, and maybe I will read through it after this session. If suffering is inevitable, if your problems in life are unavoidable, then the question we should be asking is not how do I stop suffering, but why am I suffering and for what purpose? Self-awareness is like an onion. The first layer is a simple understanding of one's emotions. The second layer is an ability to ask why we feel certain emotions. This layer of questioning helps us understand the root cause of the emotions that overwhelm us. Once we understand that the root cause, we can ideally do something to change it. The third level is our personal values. Why do I consider this to be successful or a failure? How am I choosing to measure myself? By what standard am I judging myself and everyone around me? At my point of view, self-awareness is just one of the things you should really be working on, because it's really important. I do not say it only because Gary Vee is also saying it. I'm saying it because at my point of view, it's also very important, because you can't do anything if you do not know what you really want to do. If you know what you want to do for the rest of your life, you can get very, very good at it. If you just are like, I know that I want to be, a professional football player. And then after 10 years, you're like, actually this wasn't my dream. And so, you just waste a lot of time to improve on this certain skill, and then you have to do something else and waste another lot of time. But I'm not saying that you shouldn't try stuff out. You should really try stuff out, and please try stuff out, because you can't really decide otherwise what you really want to do and what you like, and what's maybe triggering your emotions if you do not try stuff out. But knowing why you feel certain feelings or emotions, or why these occur, what triggers they have, is pretty important. But we will go on. Values underlie everything we are and do. If what we value is unhelpful, if what we consider successful or failure is poorly chosen, then everything based upon those values, the thoughts, the emotions, the day-to-day feelings, will all be out of whack. Which is true. If your basement is just a piece of shit, everything above will crash. Yeah. Better read this again, because, values underlie everything we are and do. If what we value is unhelpful, so if you value bad food, if you value eating crap, if you value, laying around in bed for at least 15 hours a day, if this is your fundamental of your life, your base of your life, everything above, especially when you are in bed, just doing nothing, 15 hours a day, there is no room there for your building. If you have, a great base, you can build a really, really, really high tower. And if you do have a really shit base, a piece of shit, then, it's not that good. But much of the advice out there operates at the shallow level of simply trying to make people feel good in the short term, while the long-term problems never get solved. Take a moment and think of something that's really bugging you. Now ask yourself why it bugs you. Chances are the answer will involve a failure of some sort. What is objectively true about your situation is not as important as how you come to see the situation, how you choose to measure it and value it. Our values determine the metrics by which we measure ourselves and everyone else. If you want to change how you see your problems, you have to change your value and or how you measure failure or success. Pleasure is not the cause of happiness, rather it is the effect. Research shows that once one is able to provide for basic physical needs, which is food and shelter and so on, the correlation between happiness and worldly success quickly approaches zero. Yeah. So research shows that once one is able to provide for basic physical needs, which would be food, shelter, and so on, the correlation between happiness and worldly success quickly approaches zero. Just have to look correlation up. Correlation. You know what? Translating. Okay. Get it. Just wanted to complain. You should never complain, by the way. Complaining is just, waste of your emotions, waste of your energy, waste of everything. Complaining will not bring you anywhere. But where have I stopped? Constant positivity is a form of avoidance, not a valid solution to life's problems, which is totally true. If you just force yourself to be positive all the time, you just, take every negative parts of your life and put it elsewhere, and you just put your happiness in front of this, so you can't really see the negative stuff going on in your life, which is, at my point of view, also something that correlates with self-awareness, because if you don't know that you actually have problems, or that you're actually putting your happiness in front of your problems so that you do not see your problems, without knowing this, you will not do anything against your problems. But I think this is great that they actually point out that constantly positivity, or the constant positivity, is just, it's, I don't know if that's even possible to be really, really and truly positive all the time. By the way, if you're choosing the right values and metrics, should be invigorating you and motivating you. That's true. When we force ourselves to stay positive all the time, we deny the existence of our life's problems. And when we deny our problems, we rob ourselves of the chance to solve them and generate happiness, which then would be true happiness and real happiness and actual happiness. Problems add a sense of meaning and importance to our lives. Some of the greatest movements of one's life are not pleasant, not successful, not known, and not positive. Good values are reality-based, socially constructive, and immediate and controllable. Bad values are superstitious. It's super, so super, and stious. Socially destructive and not immediate or controllable. When you have, because I'm reading immediate, I think it's the same. So just doing something right now. If there's something you really want to change in your life, do it right now. Pause this video or this podcast and do it right now. Or just begin to do it. Just, move a step forward to achieving your goal right now. Because if you do not do it right now, the chances are pretty high that you will not do it ever in your life. Chances are really, really high. And with habits, you just really have to, at my point of view, and it's something I've talked about in this in the episode before the last episode, that if you really want another habit to get into your life, and you just want another habit, you have to do it right now, at my point of view. Gradually doing something and putting something in your life, what a lot of people would suggest you, may be working for a lot of people. I just do not want to say that you have to do what I'm saying. It's just what my experiences are and how I'm used to doing it. If that's not working for you, do not do it. But I tend to be a very strict and do everything just quite overnight. I just do everything right now. Because the faster you start, really doing your habits, or just, let's say, doing your habits, the faster they get actual habits. If you just do it right now, and then you do it tomorrow, and you really have to be consistent and not be like, I've done it the last 2 weeks, now it's okay to do something else, I do not do it, and so on and so on. This wouldn't work. Just have to be consistent, do it all the time, and so on. When we have poor values, that is, poor standards we set for ourselves and others, we are essentially giving fucks about the things that don't matter, things that in fact make our life worse. Often the only difference between a problem being painful or being powerful is a sense that we choose it and that we are responsible for it. If you're miserable in your current situation, chances are it's because you feel like some part of it is outside your control, and that there is a problem you have no ability to solve, a problem that was somehow thrust upon you without your choosing. We don't always control what happens to us, but we always control how we interpret what happens to us, which is something I talk quite a lot about privately, so outside of these videos, and this is something very interesting, very, very interesting. It's always a term of how you interpret. Is it interpret? interpret, I don't know. It's just in terms of how you interpret things, let's make not like a really tough example. I'm just thinking, if you're losing $50, it might be painful for you. And then you can decide whether you're just, complaining about it all the day, or you just be like, the next time I will just, watch my money a little bit more and see that I'm not losing it, or nobody steals it from me, and so on. So it's just like how you look at it. It's always in terms of how your perspective is. For example, if someone is calling you a piece of shit, you can either be doing nothing, maybe hit him, or leave. It's just in how you interpret whatever what he's saying. And all the time, I think, and I know that I'm not pretty good at explaining this one, because I've not always been able to, because it's pretty hard. It's just, I think of something that would work in terms of explaining it, and then I explain it with these words, and it's not quite working out like I wanted it to. But that's okay. But let's actually see. We don't always control what happens to us, but we always control how we interpret what happens to us, as well as how we respond. Ryan Holiday writes at length about perspective in The Obstacle is the Way, which is another book by Ryan Holiday. And the more we choose to accept responsibility for our lives, the more power we will exercise over our lives. Take 100% responsibility for your life is principle number 1 in The Success Principle by Jack Canfield. Accepting responsibility for our problems is thus the first step to solving them. What does thus mean? No, it's thus. Thus. I see. This is what it means. A lot of people hesitate to take responsibility for their problems because they believe that to be responsible for your problem is to also be a fault for your problems. The responsibility fault fallacy allows people to pass off the responsibility for solving the problems to others. Our beliefs are malleable, and our memories are horrible, unreliable. The more something threatens your identity, the more you will avoid it. Manson calls this the law of avoidance. The more something threatens our identity, the more you will avoid it, which is totally true. The fucked up something is, the lower the chances are that you're actually doing something about it. Or something, I don't know. Now, do not take this one. I do not edit anything, but I won't cut it out, but don't take it for granted. When we let go of the stories we tell about ourselves to ourselves, we free ourselves up to actually act and fail and grow. There's a little that is unique or special about your problems. That's why letting go is so liberating. The narrower and rarer the identity you choose for yourself, the more everything will seem to threaten you. For that reason, define yourself in the simplest and most ordinary ways possible. Questions that will help you breed more uncertainty in your life. Questions that will help you breed more uncertainty in your life, which means, I think, nothing positive, but I'm not sure. Yeah. So things you should not do. Do not do these things. Do not ask yourself these questions. What if I'm wrong? And if you're wrong, just give a fuck about it. This is actually something that's really deeply in my mind for the past few weeks, is what Jeff Bezos, the the CEO of Amazon was talking about. He says he would rather make really fast decisions than 100% right decisions, because often it is like, these fast decisions can be reversed pretty easily. And this is something that's really in my mind. Just do it really fast now, and if you just do something wrong, you can always be like, I'm sorry for doing this, it wasn't like what I really wanted, and so on. So the first one you should never ask yourself is, what if I'm wrong? What would it mean if I were wrong? Would being wrong create a better or worse problem than my current problem for both myself and others? It's worth remembering that for any change to happen in your life, you must be wrong about something. Being able to look at and evaluate different values without necessarily adopting them is perhaps the central skill required in changing one's own life in a meaningful way. And I will read this one again. Being able to look at and evaluate different values without necessarily adopting them is perhaps the central skill requiring. So, being able to look at your values and other values and to see if they work for you or not is, I think this is what he wants to say or something, is a key thing to being able to change your own things. And I will go through everything, but I won't go through it. I won't go through it, because then it will only be me reading this, but maybe it's good for you. Just do it. So we'll go through it and read everything, and I may explain something or tell something about what I'm actually thinking. Manson tries to live with few rules, but one that he's adopted over the years is this: if it is down to him being screwed up or everybody else being screwed up, it is far, far, far more likely that he is the one who's screwed up. If it feels like it's you versus the world, chances are it's really just you versus yourself. Improvement at anything is based on thousands of tiny failures, and the magnitude of your success is based on how many times you have failed at something. If someone is better than you at something, then it's likely because he has failed at it more than you have. If someone is worse than you, it's likely because he hasn't been through all of the painful learning experiences you have. We can be truly successful only at something we are willing to fail at. If we are unwilling to fail, then we are unwilling to succeed. Life is about not knowing and then doing something anyway. Action isn't just the effect of motivation, it is also the cause of it. If you lack the motivation to make an important change in your life, do something. Anything really. And then harness the reaction to that action as a way to begin motivating yourself. So if you lack the motivation to make an important change, just do it and just find the motivation, just do something against it, and so on. When the standard of success becomes merely acting, when any result is regarded as progress and important, then inspiration is seen as a reward rather than prerequisite. We propel ourselves ahead, we feel free to fail, and that failure moves us forward. Ultimately, the only way to achieve meaning and a sense of importance in one's life is through a rejection of alternatives, a narrowing of freedom, a choice of commitment to one place, one belief, or one gulp, or one person. We all must give a fuck about something in order to value something and to value something. We must reject what is not that something. The desire to avoid rejection at all costs, to avoid confrontation and conflict, the desire to attempt to accept anything equally and to make everything cohere and harmonize is a deep, subtle form of entitlement. The difference between a healthy and an unhealthy relationship comes down to two things. One, how well each person in the relationship accepts responsibility, and the second one is the willingness of each person to both reject and be rejected by their partner. The mark of an unhealthy relationship is two people who try to solve each other's problems in order to feel good about themselves. Rather, a healthy relationship is when two people solve their own problems in order to feel good about each other. Entitled people who blame others for their own emotions and actions do so because they believe that if they constantly paint themselves as victims, eventually someone will come along and save them and they will receive the love they have always wanted. Entitled people who take the blame for other people's emotions and actions do so because they believe that if they fix their partner and save him or her, they will receive the love and appreciation they've always wanted. It can be difficult for people to recognize the difference between doing something out of obligation and doing it voluntarily. So here's a limited test. Ask yourself, if I refused, how would the relationship change? Similarly, ask, if my partner refused something I wanted, how would the relationship change? It's not about giving a fuck about everything your partner gives a fuck about. It's about giving a fuck about your partner regardless of the fuck he is or she is giving. Conflict exists to show us who is there for us unconditionally and who is just there for the benefits. For a relationship to be healthy, both people must be willing and able to both say no and hear no. When trust is destroyed, it can be rebuilt only if the following two steps happen. The first one is the trust breaker admits the true values that caused the breach and owns up to them. And the second one is the trust breaker builds a solid track record of improved behavior over time. Death is the light by which the shadow of all of life's meanings is measured. Confronting the reality of your own mortality is important because it obliterates all the crappy, fragile, superficial values in life. You're going to die, and that's because you were fortunate enough to have lived. And the odds to be a human being is 1 to 400 trillion. And then if you do not do anything with your life, with this chance, chances are much higher that you have been some sort of, bacteria than a human being. You have, especially if you're living in the north, in Northern America or in Europe or some other, pretty healthy and rich and wealthy states and or areas, just do something with your life. Just please work on something you love. Please. Really please. I really please you, because I don't get why people just work on something because they get more money out of it in the first place, but they get really, really unhappy. And if you're doing that makes you happy, you will get the best at it, and you will then make just a lot more money. So, it doesn't make any sense. Just please work on something you love and do really something you love. Just do it, please.